Let's look at another one. Y equals negative x plus 5. This is in the same order, so I'm going to work it the same way. I'm going to make myself a little chart. And I'm going to pick numbers to use for x and y. I use 0 and 1. Let me just use different numbers here to show you that it doesn't really matter. Let me use a 2 and maybe a negative 2. When I take the 2 and substitute it in place of the x, you do need to be careful on this equation because you're only replacing the x with the 2. The negative is in front of the x, so it's going to stay there. That says to take the opposite of 2. So we have the opposite of 2 plus 5. So that's y equals a negative 2 plus 5, which would be 3. So that's the y coordinate that goes with the x coordinate of 2. So that's one of my points. Now I want to plug the negative 2 in. So again, I start with the original equation, and I'm just going to plug in a negative 2. But that negative 2 only goes where the x is. So that's going to give me y equals the opposite of a negative 2 plus 5. So y would equal 2 plus 5, which is 7. So here I have the ordered pair negative 2, 7. Now I go over here to my graph and plot those points. Positive 2, positive 3 is here. Then I want negative 2, positive 7. So there are my ordered pairs. Now I just draw my line. And put your arrow on the end of each line, of each end. Again, it's hard to do on the equipment that I'm using here to get your line straight. You're better off if you use a kind of ruler or straight edge to do that. Let's go to the calculator. And we can graph this the same way. We go to the y equals button, press clear to get that equation out of the way. Then we just want the negative sign, which is down here below the 3, negative x plus 5. Press graph. Now if your graph doesn't look like this, if your x and y axis look different, you can always go to the zoom button, which is again on that top row. Zoom and choose the 6th option, which is standard. What that does is it sets the x and the y axis on the calculator the same as on this grid, from negative 10 to positive 10 on both axes.